Let us start with the obvious one and get past the obvious part fast. Yes, testosterone builds muscle, drives libido, aggression, and competitiveness. You already knew that. Here is what you probably do not. Testosterone is your primary anabolic hormone. Its core function is construction, muscle tissue, bone density, red blood cells. When it is optimized, your body treats every training session like a renovation project. When it is not, that same session just leaves damage with no crew to fix it. Most guys treat testosterone like a myth, something elite athletes have more of and regular people just accept less of. That is not how this works. What destroys it fastest? Chronic stress, poor sleep, excess body fat, and alcohol. Not four separate problems, one feedback loop. Each feeds the others, and all four spike cortisol, which is testosterone's direct biological enemy. Think of cortisol as that coworker who keeps taking credit for your work and eating your lunch. We will get to him in a moment. What protects testosterone? Heavy compound lifting, the kind that tells your body the environment is demanding and it needs to upregulate. Adequate dietary fat because testosterone is synthesized from cholesterol. Cut fat too hard and you cut your own production line. And sleep, which we will come back to more than once. Testosterone does not respond to motivation. It responds to behavior. If testosterone is the builder, cortisol is the wrecking ball. Short term, it is useful. It sharpens focus, mobilizes energy, and gets you through hard sessions. The problem is when it never comes back down, which for a lot of guys is most of the time. Chronic cortisol becomes catabolic. It breaks down muscle tissue and converts it into glucose to pay for the stress of today. You are training hard, eating your protein, and cortisol is quietly dismantling yesterday's work. Here is the mechanism most guys do not know. Cortisol and testosterone are manufactured from the same raw material, a precursor called pregnenolone. When chronic stress keeps demanding cortisol, your body prioritizes it. The supply that would have gone to testosterone gets rerouted. You do not just have high cortisol, you have high cortisol at the direct expense of testosterone. Then there is the fat angle. Chronic cortisol drives visceral fat accumulation. That fat converts testosterone into estrogen through an enzyme called aromatase. One hormone problem quietly becomes three. It is the gift that keeps on taking. Treat stress like a training variable. Sleep 7 to 9 hours. Build deload weeks into your program. Stop treating every session like a PR attempt. Cortisol in controlled doses is a tool. Cortisol as a lifestyle is a slow demolition. Growth hormone is free. That is the part nobody leads with. It drives fat metabolism, stimulates muscle repair, and strengthens connective tissue. Tendons, ligaments, the infrastructure that keeps you training for decades. Pharmaceutical companies have spent billions synthesizing it. Your pituitary gland produces it every night at no cost. The catch is timing. The largest pulse happens during slow-wave sleep, reached 60 to 90 minutes after you fall asleep. If you are getting 5 or 6 hours or killing your sleep architecture with alcohol and late screens, you're cutting the session short before the main event even starts. Sleep deprivation can reduce growth hormone secretion by 70%. Not 10, not 20. 70. No supplement closes that gap. None. Training triggers release too, but training is just the stimulus. Sleep is where the response actually happens. You cannot pull the trigger and then skip the window. Doing nothing while horizontal is technically one of the most productive things you can do for your body. Your physiology teacher never framed it that way, but here we are. Estrogen is a normal male hormone. In the right amounts, it supports bone density, joint health, and libido. The goal is not zero estrogen. The goal is balance. As body fat increases, an enzyme called aromatase converts testosterone directly into estrogen. The more visceral fat you carry, the more testosterone you lose to that process. Excess body fat does not just make you look softer. It chemically converts the hormone responsible for making you harder. Biology has a dark sense of humor. Alcohol makes it worse. It increases aromatase activity and suppresses testosterone at the same time. That is arguably the most hormonally destructive thing you can regularly consume. Insulin has a reputation problem. Fitness culture decided it is the enemy. High insulin means fat storage, so avoid carbs, avoid insulin. Half of fitness Twitter agrees. That is a half-truth being sold as the whole story. And half-truths in fitness are how people spend years following advice that sounds correct while making zero progress. Here is the full picture. Insulin is the most anabolic hormone in your entire body. It shuttles glucose, amino acids, and creatine directly into your muscle cells. Without it doing that job, the protein you eat does not reach its destination. Delivery is the bottleneck. The problem is chronically elevated insulin from eating too much, too often, from too many processed carbohydrates. When insulin is always elevated, your cells stop responding. That is insulin resistance. Now, instead of driving nutrients into muscle, insulin defaults to fat storage. It is like hiring the best delivery driver in the city and giving him no address. He is still going to deliver something, just not where you want it. Earn your carbohydrates. Time them around training. Let insulin come back down between meals. Insulin is not the liability. Abusing it is. IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, the hormone most guys have never heard of. It may explain more about your recovery than anything else on this list. When growth hormone releases from deep sleep or heavy training, it travels to your liver. The liver responds by producing IGF-1. That IGF-1 then stimulates muscle cell growth, drives protein synthesis, and accelerates tissue repair. Growth hormone is the signal. IGF-1 is the action. You need the full chain to work. What suppresses it? Caloric restriction pushed too far, chronic stress, poor sleep. The same lifestyle already suppressing every other hormone on this list. These systems are coupled. Mess one up and you do not just lose one thing, you lose everything downstream. This one makes guys uncomfortable enough to skip it entirely. That is a mistake. Your thyroid produces T3 and T4. Together, they set your metabolic rate. How fast your body burns energy at rest. How efficiently it converts food to fuel. When thyroid function drops, the engine downregulates. Metabolism slows. Fat accumulates even in a caloric deficit. Energy crashes. Strength stalls. Here's the mechanism nobody explains. Your thyroid does not care about your willpower. It cares about resources. When you crash diet, your thyroid reads a voluntary food shortage as a famine. It downregulates T3 conversion, not because something is broken, but because it is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Your thyroid is running 200,000-year-old survival software. It cannot tell the difference between a calculated cut and an actual food shortage. The result is a metabolism that has downshifted to protect you from a problem you invented yourself. If the needle has completely stopped, not slowed, stopped, get a blood panel before you try a new program. TSH, free T3, free T4. Do not guess at a hormonal problem. Test for it. Adrenaline is your fight or flight hormone. In the gym, most people access it by accident rather than design. When you approach a heavy lift, your adrenal glands release epinephrine. Heart rate climbs. Blood redirects to working muscles. Neural drive increases. Strength output goes up, sometimes dramatically. It is why a first attempt on a heavy single often fails and the second attempt succeeds. You did not get stronger in 90 seconds. Your chemistry caught up. Experienced lifters manipulate this deliberately. Pre-lift rituals, music, controlled aggression. They are not hyping themselves up. They are timing their own neurological response like a pharmacist. Here is what most people miss. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a PR attempt and a stressful morning. Both cost the same currency. Run it at maximum intensity every day, and the response starts to degrade. The focus dulls. The intensity flattens. You start needing 2 coffees just to feel like 1 coffee used to feel. Train with intensity. Then give the system time to reset. Here's what the fitness industry never quite explains. Every hormone on this list is not a separate problem. It is one system. And every input you make changes the entire board simultaneously. Fix your sleep and you raise growth hormone, IGF-1 and testosterone in the same night while lowering the cortisol that was spending them. Get leaner and you reduce aromatase activity, improve insulin sensitivity, and free up testosterone being converted to estrogen. On a train heavy and you spike testosterone, growth hormone, and adrenaline in a single session while sending the IGF-1 signal that drives recovery. These are not isolated switches. They are interconnected levers. Pull the right ones and the system compounds in your direction. Ignore the wrong ones and you can do everything else right. and still wonder why nothing is working. Sleep like recovery depends on it, because it does. Train with intent. Eat food your body knows what to do with. Manage stress as a physiological input, not an inconvenience. Stay lean enough that your own tissue is not working against you. That is not a protocol, that is a biological contract. Honor it and your hormones work for you. Ignore it and they work against you just as hard. You just learned more about your hormones than most guys figure out in a lifetime of training. Subscribe if you want the same level on everything else. Nutrition, sleep, training, recovery, no filler. Just the stuff that actually moves the needle.